when you're in that spot and you've never been there before, I do want to give her a shout out and props for actually going with her read, even though it was wrong. And I think in hindsight, she'll probably realize that it was way behind my range. At least props to her for having the guts to do it, because sometimes we get on these big stages and we want to do something. There's a fine line between hero and idiot. And she tried to be a hero. I called it right here last week. If you were to listen to the show, one guy is a fourth quarter merchant, goes down, brings his team down when he needs to, and wins the game. And one guy is 0-5 in one-score games this year, and that guy is Mahomes.
To be fair, you have picked against the Chiefs every Chiefs game.
I mean, they're 5-5, so I mean, I'm like,
you're doing okay.
I mean, I've lost the juice, but that's okay.
All right, everybody. Gamble Up episode 13 is off and running. It is November 19th, 2025. I'm your host, Jay Schwartz, alongside Roscoe, Pete Coltrane, and Puppers.
I wouldn't want to hang out with nobody who talks.
Marshawn, and David Baker in Las Vegas. David, how are you, sir?
What's up? Feel like we're in Canada here in Vegas. We got the rain, we got the cold, we got the freezing. Dog doesn't want to go outside.
Pools are closed. It's winter. It's winter.
Yeah, we're in for a long 2 weeks of winter.
You're going to put the golf clubs from your car to the garage. We put our golf clubs in storage for 6 months.
No,
move them from the car to like the side of the garage.
No, I'll be back out golfing in a week. I'm sure it'll clear up here. Don't worry.
Nice.
We get winter like a week at a time for about 2 months, and then we'll get.
Yeah, it's and it's not really winter, like 70.
No, it's freaking cold. Okay. We had the fire started today. I mean, it's like in the 30s.
Holy mackerel, not the 30s. All right, let's jump into it. First, David, we're a poker and a NFL podcast, so we're going to quickly discuss a little bit of poker. You made your No Gamble, No Future debut. So for those that don't know, No Gamble, No Future is a cash game show hosted by Poker Go and the Poker Go studios in Las Vegas. Remco and all the boys and girls at Poker Go do an awesome job with it. It's a lot of fun. They try and integrate some different things, the Wheel of Pain and all the different things that are going on. You had an interesting lineup this week. So again, it's a cash game, not a huge game, but it's not a small game. It's decent size.
I mean, it felt pretty big to me.
It got big. Sean Deeb, Phil Hellmuth, 3Coin, Abby Merck was there. Brazil God, I think his name is. I'm not quite familiar with him. Jimmy D'Ambrosio, but it looked like a fun crew to get your feet wet in.
Yeah. So I used to do some Poker No Limit streams back. I was pretty involved with Poker Night in America when it started up, and I did shows for them for about 10 years. I would go around, but that was basically all the no limit cash that I did. And, most people have kind of known me from being in the mixed game streets, mostly World Series and some tournaments, had some no limit tournament success a little bit here and there. But for the most part, I think most people consider me mixed game player, but these days I'm kind of really finding a new love for no limit and no limit cash. I've been starting to play a little bit more no limit cash. So when Brent Hanks texted me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, I was like, yeah, let me clear my schedule. So, I got to go and play and just, I'm just trying stuff out. I'm just trying to figure this thing out on the fly. I'm not doing studying and I'm not, whatever. I'm trying to integrate a style that's more fun and more fun to watch and be like. I mean, if you're into the poker streets at all and you're watching any of the Hustler stream stuff and some of the bigger games, you see the Keatings of the world and Turbo and a lot of these guys, they're in there, they're mixing it up, and that's kind of how you get invites to these games, and it's kind of how you endear yourself to the hosts, the audience, the other players and stuff. So I've been trying to do that and play around in my own private game that I've got. Well, it's not my game, but I'm invited. So I got on the show and I was splashing
I
early,
saw
and we
that.
were,
You were mixing it up.
yeah, I'm out there just kind of trying to, whatever, just be involved. And, I got a little out of line with a few hands, and one of them I kind of got caught, and lost a really big pot. And then a few other times I got it in as flips and lost a couple. And before we knew it, we're playing 25-25 and I'm stuck 28,000. And, I got 5,000 in front of me, and in a lineup that is Phil Hellmuth, who's historically one of the tightest players in poker. I mean, he doesn't really put in much money without the nuts. So,
And he bought, I think he had $1,000 stack in front of him at one point.
yeah, there were so many times he had
But
no.
I'm sorry I don't want to mean to cut you off because we'll continue here. But I tried to watch this. You're my boy. I love watching golf. I love watching cash games. Phil made it unwatchable, and I have gone on record as being a Phil Hellmuth fan. I enjoy some of the antics sometimes. For sure, he goes over the line and blah blah blah, but he just will never shut up, and it was incessant and pathetic, and just I couldn't. I turned it off. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can talk about that.
I
But
don't want to put you on the spot. I get
yeah,
it.
I mean, look, I try to toe the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are times where, to Phil's credit, he's the biggest personality outside of
no
whatever, a handful of people. He'll say he's the biggest personality. Obviously, I don't really think that he's the number one draw on streams, but he does get asked to be on every stream, and he does have all the sponsorships and everything. So props to him for getting all that. But that being said, he does kind of just command complete attention at the table the whole time. And anytime you try to say anything, you're interrupting him, or, you're taking away attention. He also tries to bully the table into playing tighter, because it's really kind of his only escape, because he really doesn't like people playing loose and aggressive, because he doesn't want to have to call big bets and stuff.
He doesn't want to call him look stupid.
Well, yeah, he doesn't want to call him look stupid. He also doesn't want to play big pots and be forced into tough decisions, which is kind of crazy. I mean, that's kind of part of the reason why he always, late regs all the tournaments. He doesn't like to play deep. He doesn't want to make big decisions. And, I'm sure he'd deny that and whatnot. But I mean, the reality is he rarely buys in deep in these shows, unless he's kind of called out. And, I know he talks about buying in deep sometimes when his big friends make him or whatnot, but for the most part, he doesn't. I've played many streams with him. He always short buys, and that's fine. That's his prerogative to do. They set a minimum, and that's what he likes to do. But he does try to bully people into playing. He tries to make people feel bad if they play hands, and it's like, oh, you're putting in all this action with ace jack, and oh, you're bluffing with 9-3, and oh, you called off this with this, and it's like, oh, I'm going to trap you, and it's like, okay, but that's not,
maybe,
I don't personally find that kind of poker enjoyable. But, if you're tuning in to hear Phil stories and name drops and whatnot, you can do that. Yeah, I mean, there were parts of the telecast that were a little rough. I mean, you see Deeb and I close our eyes from time to time and just kind of take deep breaths and let him do his thing and
Sean
whatnot.
gives it to him. Sean gives it to him back there. And Sean,
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a precarious situation, because on one side it's like, okay, enough, but on the other side it's like, I also want to be invited to the game. So I don't want to be the front of a Phil tirade. So but yeah, I got off to a little rough start, and which was okay. I don't even mind. I didn't really go on I'm going to play my best poker and whatnot. When I go on shows, it's a little advertising. I mean,
yeah.
Not that I was just not that I want to give away money, but I don't mind if I take a little bit the worst of it. But once I settled in, I lost a big hand where I seriously overplayed ace jack. I'm just used to my private game, kind of just picking up the dead money because there's a lot of people in there with a lot of shit, and I overplayed it and lost a big pot. But then I got in a few other times as flips.
I think that bought you some, especially with Abby when she has ace king and you have top set with jacks. I think
Yeah.
that bought you a pretty big double up there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like sometimes you've got to be willing to give off money in situations that are negative EV to set up future. I'm sure that I'm sure everybody in my private game that, I'll be leaving to after we're done here, saw those hands and saw that hand in particular. And tonight when it goes, raise 1,400, call, and I move all in for 14,000. Maybe I get the call with ace queen or, 2 5s and I'm sitting there with the 2 kings, So, it all kind of comes back. I won a big pot. I kind of grinded my way back. I made several really nice bluffs, 3-barrel bluffs, which is part of like the game. That's part of like what I want. I was hoping like some of those clips might even go out. So, maybe you get invites to other games. I mean, people love seeing a guy, 3-bet 9-3 of clubs and then bet the flop, bet the turn, bet the river all in. And, that's kind of like the fun stuff about like these streams. So I did that, which was fun. And then I got to show that and rub it into, Jimmy. And then I played a big hand versus Abby, which, you can find on, on Twitter on the Poker Go thing. But, basically I just raised 300 with 2 jacks on the button after a couple people, had limped, and she made a 2,200 out of the big blind. And for those who don't know Abby, her name's Abby Merckx. She's a content creator and she works for World Series of Poker in the summer. And she's featured in this new documentary that they're doing. And she had played her first big cast session the day before on that show, and she had won 18,000, which was like a big win for her. It was the biggest win she's ever had. It's the biggest cash game she ever had. So when she makes a 2,200 out of the big blind and I have 2 jacks on the button against a lot of people and a lot of stack sizes, I might just go ahead and re-raise right there because I've shown a propensity to be extremely light in this situation. And, but a hand like 2 jacks is so good that like even against a tight player like Abby, well, I assume she was tight at the time. Later on, I realized that maybe she wasn't as tight as I thought. When she re-raises me out of the blind there, like she's probably going to fold her bluffs and she's going to just put it in with the hands that have me crushed. And we're going to raise a little bit of the time, but I don't really feel comfortable like folding if I make it like 6,500 because I got a lot of money in front of me. I think I had like 15,000. We each had like 18,000 in front of us or something at the time. So anyway, I just decided to flat with 2 jacks for 2,200 pre, and it came jack 7-4, 2 diamonds. She continuation bet. I called. The turn brought a 6, and it was jack 7-4, 6. And either at this point, I don't think that she's really has enough conviction and enough game at this level to 3-barrel the river all in for her last like 9,000. I thought she would shut down if she didn't have anything, but if she had aces, kings, or queens, I didn't want a diamond to roll off or maybe a straight card and not get the rest of her money. So, it looks kind of bad considering what she had, that she had ace king, that I go ahead and ship it there because she's dead and, she should just be folding there like every time. But if she has aces, kings, or queens, like let's say she has queens and just an ace rolls off, or let's say she has, queens and a diamond rolls off, or 8 of diamonds and everything gets there, maybe she can talk herself into a fold. And I just didn't want that. Anyway, I moved it in and she talked herself into calling me with ace high, which was a pretty poor call.
It seems like you have one bluff combo there. Ace queen of diamonds is all you have. Really.
I mean, I could have like ace 5 of diamonds. I could have ace 8 of diamonds. I could have like some other diamond straight draws, but a lot of the bluffs that I have are bluffs that might contain a pair like 7, 7-5 of diamonds or whatever, 6-5 of diamonds or whatever, brought a pair. Maybe I'm floating with 8s or something and I'm trying to get her off of queens, but like she just can't beat those hands. But I do have to say, when you're in that spot and you've never been there before, I do want to give her a shout out and props for actually going with her read, even though it was wrong. And I think in hindsight, she'll probably realize that it was probably way behind my range. at least props to her for having the guts to do it, because sometimes we get on these big stages and we want to do something, and there's a fine line between hero and idiot, and she tried to be a hero, and that's fine. Like, part of learning in this game is making mistakes, and she was willing to make a mistake and look stupid to potentially look great, and didn't work out for her this time. But again, that's kind of what me showing 9-3 of clubs and me showing, shoving ace jack and all these like random hands that I had, I made up for all that in that one call.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was a great experience, and I like doing it. And I'm pretty sure I was enough action and enough conversation to get the invite back. So maybe you'll be seeing me on some more streams. Hopefully I'll get good enough. Not good enough, but comfortable enough that maybe I can play some higher stakes and maybe go on Hustler and things like that later on. But I still gotta hone a little bit of my style before I can get there.
And you got a 3-coin hat.
Yeah, so I play 3-coin plays in my game at Aria.
Oh, does it? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we become like fun
Yeah.
at the table, adversarial, but in a good way, in a fun way.
Seems
Like,
awesome. I like.
he's an awesome dude, man. He's great for poker and great for these poker streams, and I've really gotten lucky to get a chance to play with him at the table, because he just brings fun to the game. He had given me that hat like a couple days ago. I told him, I'm like, hey, I need a beanie. It's getting cold out. And so he went upstairs and he didn't have any beanies, but he had a bucket hat. And so I brought it. The funny thing is, the night he brought it to me at Aria, I put it on and I was like, and I took a picture, I tweeted it, and it was the thing that Brent Hanks saw, that's the reason he invited me to the game. He saw the picture I put on Twitter. So it worked out well for that. But the funny thing is, I put that hat on and I was winning the night that he gave it to me, and then I put it on and I lost every pot. And then I went to the game and I wore it to start, and I start down 28,000, and I took the hat off and I won like 45 straight or something. So the hat may not be coming out for a little while, but I'll give it another go at another point, because I like the man and I like his gear and whatnot. So it's fun.
All right. Did you have the hat on watching football on Sunday?
Now, that might explain my bad record.
All right, we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's have a quick look back, though. And that we talked about some big games in Week 11 last Sunday, and let's just have a quick chat about a couple of them. We'll leave the big one for last, but the Seahawks at Rams was a heck of a football game. And if you like, defense and two teams smacking each other pretty good, it was fun to watch. The Seahawks, even having a chance to win that game at the end after Darnold throws 4 interceptions. Both, I think the Seahawks defense was amazing. I think the Rams defense was really, really good. Obviously, they were two really good teams going at it, and I really enjoyed watching that football game. Although not super happy with the loss, but a great game.
Yeah, I don't remember if I brought it up on this show or another show, but I mean, the one thing that worried me about Seattle in that game was just how Darnold looked against the Rams in the playoffs. And that's exactly what came to fruition is, the Rams defensive coordinator, he knows how to scheme up, to apply pressure to Darnold. And that's not really a good sign for them moving forward to potentially having to beat the Rams later in the year or in the playoffs.
Except that you give a young player like Darnold trials, like enough trials in that situation. So you mentioned the playoffs this week, the week coming up, the game coming up they have, and if they do meet in the playoffs, hopefully if Darnold is that quarterback, that's he learns from these sort of 3 games against that defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, and look, the reality is that if it wasn't for that Rams game last year, Darnold would probably have signed a big contract in Minnesota. I think, or maybe even just a bigger contract somewhere else. I think that game scared off potential suitors, and he found a way to come into this season, and he's having, I'm not going to say he's MVP, but he's having an MVP-like season. He's had a fantastic season. Like, Seattle's one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL, and it's a lot because of him. Obviously due to, the scheme that they're running up there and Kubiak calling plays, but Darnold's reason why. So yeah, it's definitely possible that he learns from that, but they also ran the same scheme that they ran in that Minnesota game, and he had him completely, I don't even know what the word is, but he didn't really look like himself. There's definitely a positive if you want to look at it from the Seattle standpoint. I mean, they had more yards, they had more time of possession, and they almost won the game with 4 interceptions. If you want to look at it from the Rams side of it, it's, we feel very comfortable going up against this guy that we're going to force him into mistakes eventually. And I mean, I had the Rams in that game. The funny thing is, no matter what side you're on, you can always find a justification for the bad beat that you took or the bad beat you would have taken. And, I have a friend who was like, oh, the Rams were not the right side of that game. And I looked at it, I'm like, the Rams were the right side of that game. They had the ball in Seattle territory all day. They got 4 how do you get 4 interceptions and not cover 3 points at home? I mean, that's pretty tough. So I felt like I got unlucky there, but on the flip side, the Seattle people are more like, we have to, if we would have cut out 2 of those interceptions, we win that game easy. So, it's if not this, then that, if not that, then this type situation.
And if we make the field goal and win the game, the narrative's totally different over this game, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the Darnold narrative is still there because he threw 4 picks. I get that, but it's the narrative there is different, I think.
Look, I'm going to say the one thing that I came out of this game thinking is that I still like both of these teams.
Yeah.
I think these are both 2 of the better teams. Every team has a flaw. Every team has a flaw heading into the playoffs. There is not. This year is different than any other year, and the difference between my power rankings and your power rankings and NFL networks and SIs and Jim Smith on the internet, like the difference between the 1st and 10th ranked teams is so small. And anybody's rankings, if you told me that you had Seattle at number 2 or 3, I would say, okay, I can see it. If you tell me Seattle's number 11, I can see that too. We can say the same thing about the Eagles and about the Chiefs and about the Broncos. They all have flaws, and some of them are going to be fatal flaws, and some of them they're going to be able to work around. And the thing about the NFL is it changes really rapidly. And as much as we want to believe that our flaws and our strengths today are the team that's going to lead us to the Super Bowl, it's just not the reality of it. We have another 7-8 games of injuries and flow and coaching and weather, and there's going to be so many teams are going to be gelling. The teams that are gelling now might not be gelling in 4 weeks, but they might also be gelling in 8 weeks. It's just kind of how the NFL works. The best teams today were not the best teams 4 weeks ago and vice versa. So I don't think that that's going to necessarily, I feel good about the Rams. I feel good about the Seahawks. I think most people have the Rams in their top 1 or 2 power rated, and I've kind of had them there this whole year. So, I mean, like I said, I bet 3 futures at the beginning. I bet 2 futures at the beginning of the year, and now I have 3 futures since we added the Ravens. But the Rams were one of them, and I've been on Rams day 1, so no reason for me to go anywhere. And I've already capitulated on the Seahawks, and I say they're a good team. And
Sunday night, the Lions were in Philadelphia. The Eagles win 16-9. Any takeaways from there?
This is probably going to be an unpopular take. But I'm concerned about the Lions with Dan Campbell being the play caller. Yeah. I like Dan Campbell, and he's a really good coach. He gets his team ready to go. He does a great job in that locker room. Whatever you want to say about his 4th down decisions and whatnot, like sometimes he's a hero, sometimes he's a GOAT. There's a lot of things. I'm worried about. I do like the fact that he's gotten Gibbs and Jamison Williams more involved in the offense, but I'm a little concerned. I don't think he has experience being an offensive coordinator and calling plays, and I'm afraid that some of these better defensive coordinators are going to pick up tendencies. I don't know if he's in the lab like GTO of let me call this play out of this formation to set up this later on because I've called it 4 times and now it's going to be a different look. I'm just a little skeptical of that, even though I do like the premise of Jameson and Gibbs being more involved. I'm a little worried when push comes to shove and you're going up against, Vic Fangio in the playoffs and the Rams defensive coordinator whose name's escaping me and Mike McDaniel, or Mike McDonald from the Seahawks. Like I'm a little concerned about him being able to not get caught. So yeah, that's kind of my big concern there. Obviously, we always have the Goff narrative outside, but I just think the Eagles are just like a really good defense. I mean, at some point you have to give the Eagles credit. I mean, they basically made the Packers and Lions look like the Titans and the Raiders offensively. And
the last couple of weeks, the Eagles defense has been really impressive.
Yeah. Really.
But to your point about Goff, the defense was there, but he couldn't throw a football. It looked like he couldn't throw the football 5 yards.
He didn't play well. I mean, I'm a Goff supporter and I'm a Goff fan, but sometimes it just goes like that. I mean, everybody can't have every good game. And, just like we saw with Darnold, maybe this is a one-off, maybe it's not, but, he did go outdoors last year and won some games. So I don't know. The reality is though, if the Lions take care of business in the dome, they're in a dome, I think their next 6 in a row. So if they just take care of their business, under the roof, wherever that is, then they probably won't have to go out much. They're going to have to go back to Philly maybe to get to the Super Bowl, but that might be it. LA plays indoors, so we don't necessarily have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, the Rams are good at finding pressure and the Eagles are good at finding pressure. And when Goff gets pressured, we see mistakes.
And the big showdown in the AFC West, we talked about it last week. Denver and Kansas City. Denver ends up winning that game 22-19. Bo Nix continues. He made there's 2 drives that I think about when I watch that game. And one of them was kind of late in the third quarter. And Bo Nix made some really, really good throws, some real touch passes to march his team down. And then on that final drive, beautiful throw. I can't remember the receiver he threw it to, but I thought Bo Nix looked really good in the second half.
Well, I mean, talk about burying the lead. I mean, I'm the biggest Bo Nix supporter out here, and I've been the biggest Chiefs hater, and we'll wait till 27 minutes into the
we had to lead up to
podcast. Look, I mean, all I heard all week long, all I've heard all season long is that he can't do it. I mean, we got to ask Ross, where's the clip of me last week talking about who do you trust in the fourth quarter, Mahomes or Nix? I mean, I called it. I called it right here last week. If you were to listen to the show, one guy is a fourth quarter merchant, goes down, brings his team down when he needs to, and wins the game. And one guy is 0-5 in 1-score games this year, and that guy is Mahomes.
To be fair, you have picked against the Chiefs every Chiefs game.
I mean, they're 5-5, so I mean, I'm like,
you did okay.
I mean, I've lost the juice, but that's okay.
That stat you mentioned it, 0-5 in the last 1-score games. What did they go? Did they run off 22?
13-0 last year, or 12-0, 13-0, 12-0 last year. So
yeah, just insane run. So
regression to the mean
has to balance out. We're math guys, right? So
look, but I mean that was a very Bronco-esque game.
Yeah.
And, one thing that just really, I felt good about the game, but I didn't want to get too over my skis. I've been thinking that they were going to win this game, but I'll tell you the moment where I just knew we were going to win was the halftime interview coming out with Sean Payton. I don't know if anybody really noticed it. It's 6-6. And they asked Payton, what he thought. He goes, we're in a great spot. They're a first half team.
Wow. Calling him out.
Right on the telecast. He just calls the Chiefs a first half team. And I was like, we got this. And I mean, just really, I mean, you have to at this point. I already said, that maybe Bo's not the cleanest right now. He's got some work to do. He misses some guys, but you've got to accept the fact that winning and clutch is a trait. You can't on one side just give all the flowers to Mahomes and then say that winning in clutch isn't a trait. It was a trait with Brady. It was a trait with Manning. It's a trait with Mahomes. And I'm not putting Nix in that conversation yet, although he will be one day. But winning is a skill, and clutch is a skill. He's not going to win every game. He's not going to come through clutch every game, but he really has shown through his first year and a half in the league that he does have a clutch gene. And I think I'd rather have a guy that's a little more inaccurate from time to time, but has that clutch gene than a guy who, maybe hits all the throws in the first and second quarter and can't close when it matters the most. That throw he made to Troy Franklin was elite.
Yeah.
He led him on the inside so that he could body him out on the outside. And the only place, and also what confidence the coaching staff showed in him to call that play. They could have bled the clock down and just played for overtime. They could have run it twice or run a safe screen, try to get the first down. But if they don't get it, don't give Mahomes any more time. They said, you know what? We're willing to risk an interception. We're willing to risk an incomplete pass because we trust you, Bo Nix, to make the throw.
Yeah.
And he did, and he delivered. And I think it was a big moment for the team for sure.
It was. They're 9-2. Were they were started 1-2, right? They've won 8 in a row.
Yes. Yep. They beat Tennessee the first game. Then they lost the Chargers game on the ridiculous Herbert touchdown throw that was just insanely good.
I remember that.
And then they went to Indianapolis. They lost the leverage game, and now they've won 8 straight. So yeah. I think in our very first episode, I talked my favorite future bet was Broncos plus 350 to win the AFC West, and I've got some big tickets with that. It's probably the most money I've ever outlaid in a future, just to start the year. So I'm sitting pretty. I could hedge right now and get a nice little make sure I get return, but I think I'm just going to let it ride. I don't know. I'm not much of a hedger, and I think
the Chargers don't look good. I don't think the Chargers look very good. So they're 2 back, right?
The Chargers are 1 back, and the Chargers beat them. Oh, maybe the Chargers are
2 back. They're 7-4. Yeah,
okay, they're 2 back. They each play the Broncos once, the Chiefs and the Chargers. So, if the Chargers are 2 back, then yeah.
Any concern with sort of Super Bowl playoff thoughts? J.K. Dobbins being out for the year and R.J. Harvey. Now I'm an R.J. Harvey owner in a couple of spots in fantasy, but I don't watching these games closer now. He doesn't look like a fantastic back to me. Like he doesn't look like an explosive kind of guy who's gonna dominate games.
Harvey, he's a small back. He was never supposed to be the workhorse back. Dobbins and him were supposed to be the 1-2. He's supposed to be the Gibbs to the Montgomery. He's not a Jonathan Taylor. I think he does his role well. I mean, he takes the ball out of shotgun. He takes the screens. He does the wheel routes. Is he going to get 18 carries? No, that's not his game. But I like Harvey. I like the team. I like defense. I like offensive line play. I like quarterbacks that are clutch. They have everything I like. I'm not sure if they're ready to climb the mountain and get there. But they're definitely going to be in the conversation.
You're not going to want to play them. That's for sure.
You're not going to want to play them. And look, the way it's setting up right now, they're going to have at least 1, if not 2 home games. So, unless the wheels just come off and they end up like, 10-7 and a wild card, and they don't win the division, I mean, then you're going to have to go to Denver, and it's going to be cold, and the line is as physical as can be. They won this game without Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
Also, they have, I can't remember his name, Alex something or other, one of their best defensive players, one of their leading tacklers, Alex Singleton, I think is his name. He was out of this game. They found that he had testicular cancer, out of the blue, a week earlier. So he had to have surgery on that, but he'll be back. So they were missing 2 key defensive parts. Obviously without Dobbins, but he's probably not coming back. And I'm not really handicapping for a mid-tier running back anyway, but look, this team's good. If Payton doesn't screw up end of game management, then They have a legit shot.
All right, so let's quickly recap some of the wagers and contests from the last week. You put out your picks, as you always do, on Twitter at AUDavidB, and your loves. So you had 3 games that you loved. You went 1 and 2. You had the Falcons, Vikings, and Niners. Only the Niners won there. That brings your season record to 14 and 10 on those ones. And I believe you went 3 and 3. Maybe I'm wrong. It looked like to me you went 3 and 3 with the leans. 31 and 25. So you came off a 9-0 week. Can't really expect to just run the table every week, and you might come close to covering the juice this week.
No, I lost a little juice. We lost. We had a losing week. We own the L's, but I think we're still having a pretty good season most weeks, and especially the last. I feel like the last 6 weeks I've really been kind of honed in, and my bad weeks have been kind of small losers, and my good weeks have been really good. So I'm okay. The reality is I took a couple of mediocre teams laying points against other mediocre teams, and my mediocre team didn't show up. I mean, the Falcons and the Vikings, 2 of the most disappointing teams in the NFL this year. I mean, so it just kind of is what it is. I kind of still held out hope that these teams would go ahead and find it against division teams that they were supposed to be better than, and they didn't, and I was wrong. And I mean, I'll take that information and move forward, because both those games really showed me a lot about who these 2 teams are.
In the Circa Millions, you obviously have 8 entries. In the third quarter, you 5-0 on 4 of them, I think, last week, and you ended up going 3 and 2. So not complete disaster on 4 of them. So you're 8 and 2 for the third quarter on 4, and 7 and 3 on the other 4.
Yeah, I probably got to scoop the board on those for the quarter, but we're inching our way into potentially cashing, potentially going on if we go on a historic run to end, but. Whatever. We'll continue to play the game and try to put ourselves in as good a position as we can. And if things work out, fine. But we're still betting the games each week. So regardless of how the Circa contest does, we're still out there putting our money where our mouth is.
And in Survivor, so this is where kind of Survivor gets interesting, I think, for me. Yeah, I mean, early in the season, you're looking 8 weeks out. I kind of want to use this team on you. Well, we're there now, and a whole bunch of teams have been used. If you got this far. And now, some of these permutations become real. And, I know you had the Pats on Thursday night on both your entries, as we talked about at the end of the last show. So you were home and clear on Thursday and kind of cheering for all the underdogs on Sunday. And a bunch of them looked like you might be right. And it looked like a whole bunch of spots might go down. But it wasn't the case. A lot of them came back and won. All the chalk ended up getting through in Survivor. So,
yeah, it's kind of a gnarly situation. When you use a really good team that has good future value, you're doing it because you're trying to avoid some other spots and hoping that some other teams can go down. And the Titans and Texans were close late. The Packers and Giants were close late.
Steelers, maybe.
Oh yeah, the Steelers Bengals were close for a little while. Yeah, there was another one that was close.
Ravens,
as well,
Ravens didn't. They were.
Yeah,
they were,
the Ravens too. I was actually not rooting for them to lose because of all the other stuff I have. But yeah, I mean, the reality is we were really close to a lot of entries being out, and as it worked out very poorly for us because we don't have the Patriots anymore, and and not a whole lot of people got clipped. But that's Survivor. I mean, Survivor, you're mostly rooting for the Titans, the Raiders, the Saints, the Jets, the Bengals. I mean,
kind of like the bookies every week. They're always cheering for those teams, right?
Yeah. Well, mine's going to be rooting for those teams too because it's shaping up to be a favorite type of week.
Oh, okay, we'll get there. So I don't know if you want to do this, but looking ahead a little bit to week 12 and beyond of possible. Well, for sure for week 12 for some of the games you can look at. And what those teams, because there's some big favorites this week, as you point out. The Lions are -10 at the Giants. I believe you've used both Lions entries there. Seattle's a big favorite. Tennessee, you've used the Hawks twice there on the 2 remaining entries. Rams -7 at home to Tampa Bay. Believe you've used the Rams twice there. So we get into games. So the Ravens, -13.5 to the Jets. You have one entry with the Ravens left. However, the Ravens are, one of there's 8 teams playing in the first half of the Thanksgiving weekend. And the Ravens are sort of the team that you look at in those 4 games as the one you want to have, I believe, right? So can't see you using the Ravens there?
Yeah, I mean, this week sets up you just kind of have to make your Thanksgiving decision now. I mean, if you're going to use the Ravens this week, then you're basically tied into I'm basically tied into using either the Eagles or the Chiefs. I do have the Chiefs available. But I don't really feel comfortable with the Chiefs at Dallas. I'll be honest. I'm probably going to like Dallas in that game. So I probably wouldn't be wanting to use the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. So, yeah, it's basically just tying myself into the Eagles on Thanksgiving, being that the Eagles are going to be basically a forced entry on one of my entries because I've already used the Lions and the Ravens and I don't really want to use the Chiefs. I basically have to use the Eagles on that one.
And the Eagles are playing the Bears, and the Bears they're 7. Are they? What's their record?
Yeah, they're 8-3, I think.
8-3.
7-2.
Yeah,
7,
so I mean, they're no pushover.
Yeah,
they're no pushover.
Yeah, and look, we've already seen that the Eagles' offense can. I don't even know what team I said, but the Eagles' offense can come to a grinding halt sometimes. So, look, the Eagles are probably going to be upwards of 40 to 50% owned on Thanksgiving, and I'm kind of forced into one of them, unless I could convince Mark to play Dallas or something, which probably isn't going to happen. Yeah, I think we're going to be tied into the Eagles on one, and 50% of the people are going to be on the Eagles. I probably just want to save the Ravens for the other one, to be honest. It's just I don't really want to be tied into a 50% both my entries on the Eagles if possible. So yeah, I probably won't have them. I have used a lot of my big entries. My big point spread teams already. So I'm kind of forced into looking at one of them has Green Bay left, one of them doesn't. That's a possibility. San Francisco's touchdown favorite. They're going to be very popular, so we could use them. But also there's some off the grid teams. If I want to try to make this entry better, we could use the Raiders. They're at home versus the Browns and Shedeur Sanders. They're laying 4 currently. Could even go all the way down to the Saints or Falcons if you wanted to in that game. You just got to pick a coin flip winner in that game. So yeah, there's some options if you just want to try to get a team out of the way. Or you could just take the more conventional route and take the Niners and their 7-point favorite and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm not really exactly sure what we're going to do, but I feel pretty confident that I'm not going to take the Ravens. And I don't have the Lions or the Seahawks available. So we're probably looking at Packers possibly on 1, San Francisco possibly on 1 or 2, possibly the Raiders, maybe even down to the Saints. Oh, also we have the Bears available. I think the Bears, if we're getting Mason Rudolph for the Steelers, I don't think that's the worst spot ever either.
All right. I thought we'd check in on some teams and see where we were thinking, what their futures look like here going forward. We talked a little bit about the Chiefs. They're 5-5 now. They've losses to all the teams in the wild card race. They're not going to win the division. So, they need to, out of the 7 games left, do they need to win 6 probably to get to 11? Given that they don't have any tiebreakers, does 10-7 get them in? I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, it basically just, it kind of depends on Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is kind of like the line of demarcation, like for them that's what the Chiefs are worried about. They're one game behind Jacksonville or 2 games behind Jacksonville. But regardless, they lost that Jacksonville game, so they lose the tiebreaker to them. It really just comes down to, does Jacksonville win all the games they're supposed to? Do they beat Arizona this week? Do they beat Tennessee, the game that they're supposed to beat them? I think they might even play Tennessee twice. So, you start looking at the Jacksonville schedule. If they take care of business and they win the games they're supposed to win, then yeah, the Chiefs probably have to win
6 of 7, right?
6 of 7.
And here's their schedule. So they're at Cowboys, or sorry, and not only that, they get the Colts this week, who are coming off a bye at home. They're in Kansas City, but Colts, man, they could beat that. They could win that game quite easily. I mean, KC, I don't know. Their offense doesn't look great at all. It looks old to me. I don't know that, they're a great football team, and the Colts coming off a bye, that's kind of scary. Anyway, so they have the Colts this week. They're at Cowboys, home to Texans and Chargers, away to Tennessee, and then home to Broncos. So they have to beat the Broncos and the Colts likely, and then sweep the other games.
Yeah. Where's the Chargers game?
Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers.
Where's the Chargers?
Home. They're at home to the Chargers.
I mean, I think it probably comes down to maybe that Chargers game. I think the Chargers and Jacksonville are kind of the teams that are their teams they have to get by. So yeah, if they beat the Chargers, that kind of helps. The Chargers, we'll talk about them, but they're not exactly looking that great. Listen, I'm the Chiefs hater. I'm the guy who week 3, placed a bet at plus 285 for them to miss the playoffs. I've been pick against the Chiefs every week. I don't think the Chiefs are that good. Everybody I hear says this Chiefs team's better than last year's, and this Chiefs offense is so good. I don't understand what people see. This is what I see when I watch the Chiefs. They have 3 plays. They have Kareem Hunt up the middle for 2. They have a crossing route where they try to get the ball in Rashee Rice's hands in space or Travis Kelce. They don't even use Xavier Worthy anymore. So they basically throw 2-yard passes, 2-yard runs, and then they have what I call an arm punt, which is basically Mahomes heaves the ball 50 yards down the field and hopes he gets a pass interference call or that Tyquan Thornton can make a ridiculous catch. That's literally their entire offense. And
arm punt. I love it.
People want to say that I'm hating, but I mean, it's the reality. What do you see out of this Chiefs offense that you like? Do you love watching Kareem Hunt run for 3 yards? I mean, I don't. You love watching Mahomes just rear back and throw it. Yeah, Mahomes gets out of pressure sometimes. When he gets pressured and he runs around and he does that little fake, put the ball in your face and go out and act like I'm going out of bounds and tiptoe down the sidelines, maybe get a late hit call, maybe not. That's pretty like 4 times a game. But generally, all he does is their entire offense is just throwing the ball as far as he can throw it and hoping to get pass interference calls. It's really ugly. It's not a good looking offense. Xavier Worthy is completely dead. I mean, the dude averages like 4 points a game, fantasy points. Like he never gets targeted. They don't connect. Rashee Rice, I'm seeing like preseason next year picks going in like number 6 overall. I don't want any part of this 3-yard screen merchant. He's not an Amon-Ra. This team isn't Detroit. I don't understand. He's not Puka. I just really don't see what everybody likes about the Chiefs. They do have the experience and they do have the coaching. So yeah, we're not going to write them off yet, but man, I just don't see why everybody just is so convinced that this team can just do it.
And you mentioned Kareem Hunt. Like, why do they hate Rashard Smith? Like, I thought this guy would get a run here and some shot here, but they don't even.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Andy Reid be very stubborn with veterans. I mean, we saw for years they just kept plunging CEH into the line. Like, I mean, when that guy definitely didn't have it, they had a chance to get Breece Hall for a 3rd round pick. Like, Breece Hall makes this team infinitely more dynamic out of the backfield, running the ball, catching the ball. So, look, the Chiefs have made their own bed. They wanted to say, oh, wait till we get Rashee Rice back. Wait till we get our weapons back. It's like, you got your team. Like this, you are who you are, and you're 5-5 now. And I mean, I don't really. I'm not fearful of the Chiefs. If they win 6 out of the last 7, they get to the playoffs with the experience of Mahomes and the fact that teams always piss down their legs versus the Chiefs in the playoffs, then yeah. And he's got the clutch gene. I can't like say that he doesn't, because he does. Like, they find ways to win. But look, just matching it team for team, me watching football, like I just don't see what everybody sees in this Chiefs team.
Well, if they're going to win 6 or 7, they're going to have to change their offense and do some things differently to win those 6 games. And if they do that, then for sure. The current iteration seems like a long shot to beat anybody. But if you want to bet on them to make the playoffs, they're plus 330 right now to make the playoffs and
They
win.
missed the playoffs. They're
Sorry,
they're
no. They're sorry. You're right. Yeah, the other way around. Yeah,
they're minus to make the playoffs now. I think they're still
yeah.
minus. I think they're minus 2 something on Circa. I looked at them today just to see if I still had a good price at the no, and I do now. So I'm glad finally that ticket was like dead a couple weeks ago, and now it's back live, and I'm back have value on that ticket. So that's nice.
Let's check in on the Ravens. Started 1-5. You famously jumped on board when they were 1-5, and they've run 4 off to be 5-5. They're only 1 game back of Pittsburgh in the AFC North and completely control their own destiny. They have 2 games against the Steelers. They're healthy. They're rolling. They've changed some things on defense. They just look like a completely different football team on defense for sure. Remember in the first 3-4 weeks, it was just like they couldn't stop a college team. It was pathetic. And now they're back. And some of the games they have left they're home to the Jets this week. You got to think that's a win. They get the Bengals and Steelers at home after that. And then they're away to the Bengals. Maybe Joe Burrow's back then. Who knows? But the Bengals are the Ravens defense from week 3. They're terrible. They can't stop anybody. They're at New England. Tough game for sure. The Packers and Steelers to finish the season. So,
I mean, I look, the reason I bet it was because I saw this upcoming schedule and I thought they would win the football games, and they did. But I'm not super impressed with the way they're playing right now offensively. I mean, Lamar doesn't look like MVP Lamar, but that was kind of the point. The point was buy them while they're playing bad teams and they start to get healthy. And I trust that Lamar and this system and this coaching staff and these players, like this is the same offensive unit that they had last year. They still have Derrick Henry, they still have Andrews, they still have Bateman, they still have Flowers. It's the same offense that was a favorite to win in in Buffalo last year in the playoffs. They were a favorite to make the Super Bowl last year. So now we have a great price on a team that, if they gel, should be there. But I mean, I'm not super, I would like to see them, put the hammer down on some of these teams. I'm not super excited what I'm seeing out of Lamar, but I don't think the Lamar I see today is the Lamar I'm going to see in 4 weeks. So hopefully by the time they get to the tougher part of that schedule where they have the Patriots and Packers and, in Pittsburgh, like he'll be better by then because they're going to have to win at least 1, if not 2 of those games to go ahead and secure the division, which is really what they need. As we've said, we don't think Pittsburgh's going to go and run away with this division. They're not going to win a lot of their games. So if you lose the division to Pittsburgh, that means you're probably like have 8 wins. And we've already just talked about the Chiefs. You're not getting in with 8 wins as a wild card. So yeah, and especially Baltimore doesn't have the tiebreaker versus Kansas City. So they essentially have to win those Pittsburgh and Cincinnati games. They got to win 3 of those 4.
Minus 350 right now to make the playoffs. Lions, the Detroit Lions, who we talked about earlier with Dan Campbell taking over in the offense. Goff struggling. Amon-Ra not doing anything this week. 6-4, third place in the very hard NFC North. Games remaining, they're home to the Giants this week. You got to think that's a win. Then they get the Packers at home and Cowboys as well. They are at the Rams. Tough game there, obviously. Home to the Steelers. That's good for the Ravens, obviously. And then away to the Vikings and Bears to end the season. Bears, again, not a pushover. Vikings aren't playing very good. So you'd like to think that they're, a favorite to make the playoffs for sure, even though they're third in the NFC North there. But, they're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, they're minus 400 right now to make the playoffs, and they're like plus 130 to win the division. I kind of like that. I kind of think that, they control their own destiny really to win the division. And, if they take care of the Bears and the Packers, they're probably going to win that division, and they're minus 400 to make the playoffs. I kind of feel like, the Packers play the Bears twice. So, if they split those 2 games, then, that really leaves it open for Detroit to go ahead and take care of Chicago and Green Bay themselves. They have Green Bay at home. They have Chicago at home until the last game. And then, that last game I assume they'd be favored anyway, even on the road. So I think there's a little bit of value in the Lions right now. I think they're probably a favorite to win that division.
And then I had Chargers. I don't know. Maybe we don't need to talk about the Chargers. They're 7-4, 2 games back of the Broncos. Remaining games. Anyway, we don't need to talk about them. Okay. Packers.
I want to talk about the Packers because I have I want to talk about them because I think there's a really interesting and good bet on the board. Let's look at the NFC. Who's making the playoffs? I looked at the odds today, and all these teams are minus 400 or better to make the playoffs in the NFC. You have Seattle.
Let me see if I got it. We got the Eagles.
Yep.
We have the Rams.
Yep.
We got the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Minus 400. There's another team minus 400.
The Lions are minus 400.
Oh, yeah. Lions. Yeah, sorry.
And the Niners are minus 600 to make the playoffs.
What?
Because their schedule is so soft. So that's 6 teams that are minus 400 or better to make the playoffs. There's only 7 teams that make the playoffs. So essentially what the market is telling us is that 6 of the 7 teams are set. The Bears are minus 135 to make the playoffs. So they're a little bit better than a coin flip to make the playoff. The Packers are minus 300. I think minus 3, it might even be minus 330. I think you get plus 300 on the comeback for the Packers missing the playoffs. So essentially, it's a Packers versus Bears bet. If you think that these minus 400s don't lose very often. I mean, that's a 20%er to lose. I think the Packers at 3-1 to miss the playoffs is a very live bet. Their schedule is extremely tough. They go to Detroit. They have to play Chicago twice. They played Baltimore. Their schedule, they have no cupcakes left. Their only cupcake is this week against the Vikings. So I'm strongly considering putting Packers at plus 300 in my account. I'm also considering waiting because I do think that the Vikings are kind of a dead team walking. So maybe if the Packers win this week, maybe I can even get a little bit better price on them missing the playoffs.
What about the Panthers? Are they? What's their schedule look like?
Well, I mean, the Panthers go to San Francisco this week, so that's kind of a tough game. But
so then they're at home to the Rams. Oof. At Saints, they should win that. Tampa Bay, Seahawks. Yeah, they're in Tampa Bay again.
Yeah, I think it's a little early for the Panthers. So, but the reality is this market is telling us that 6 teams have locked it up and the 7th team is the Bears or the Packers. Well, how can the Bears be a coin flip if the Packers are minus 300? I mean, it just can't be. So in my estimation, you have 2 bets that you could make. One, you could bet that the Packers do not make the playoffs at 3-1, or you could say, okay, well, I think the Packers are going to make the playoffs too. They're 3-1 favorites. So then you should just bet against the Bears making the playoffs because the Packers and Bears, I don't think both make the playoffs under the current odds. It just doesn't realistically make sense that happens. Unless you just don't believe in this Detroit team or you think this San Francisco team's got some clunkers left in them. But that's essentially what you're saying in these with these markets. So I think that's a very, a lot. We're not always betting because we think we're going to win. We're betting because we think we're going to win X% of the time. And if you win this bet 1 out of 4 times, you break even at 3-1. So, as currently constructed, I think you win it probably about 45% of the time, maybe. So 40% of the time. So I think it's pretty good value there. So if you're wanting to get in the future streets, I think it's a live bet.
All right. Thanks. I'll have a look for sure. All right. Looking forward to week 12. There's not a ton. We mentioned that there's some pretty big favorites this week as far as, good teams going at it and with playoff implications. We have the Steelers are at the Bears. Bears minus 2.5 favorite there. I mean, we're going to find out about this Bears team. I don't know. They're young. Is there no baggage there and Caleb can just go off or something? Steelers, obviously, we've talked about aren't great. What's your sort of take on that Steelers Bears game?
Well, my take is that I think the Steelers are. I'm not 100% on the Bears, but I'm 100% on the Steelers. I mean, I think the Steelers are pretty fraudulent. they can't stop anybody. They have a bad quarterback and they have no weapons. I mean, I don't like. So what is there to like about the Steelers? Like, the only thing you can like about the Steelers is once a month they have some voodoo game at home that like Tomlin finds a way to win. Like, that's really basically all they have. Am I worried that it's going to be the voodoo game against the Ravens? Yeah, I mean, sure. But as just pound for pound NFL players go, the Steelers have less than other teams. I don't think the Steelers team is good at all. I trust Ben Johnson to scheme up. I'm a little concerned about the one thing that concerns me about this game. I really like the Bears. So I'll just say right now, the Bears are going to be one of my picks this week. But the one thing that does concern me is that the Steelers run these 3 big tight ends on the field. They run the 13 personnel, and they just run these patterns to these tight ends and give them in space and just run over these little DBs. And Chicago's not very good at stopping that kind of stuff. So I'm a little concerned that maybe that's the game plan, but I don't know. The Steelers haven't stopped anybody all year. I don't believe in Mason Rudolph or a banged up Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I just got to like the Bears in this spot. I'm not thrilled about the fact that the Bears are on such a hot winning streak. That stuff kind of has a tendency to regress to the mean. But look, I can't on one side say I like the Broncos every week and that it won't regress to the mean, and then on the other side, say that the Bears are due to regress to the mean. So, I like the Bears here.
And then the other game, we mentioned it earlier, the Colts coming in off a bye in Kansas City minus 3.5. I think I'd like the Colts in that. And here I'm going to say it. I think Colts win this game outright. I think they just do.
Wow, we're team Chief hater. I like
it's not that I don't hate the Chiefs. I just
come on, be on Team Chief hater with me.
I'm just like the Colts are a good football team, and they're coming off a bye. I just like them in this spot.
Yeah, I actually wanted to kind of like the Chiefs here just because, that's just kind of how the NFL goes. They're not going to let a team like this just go away and into the night. But I don't know. I just couldn't. I just look at the game and I'm like, one thing that I've always liked is I like going against the team that played against the physical team the week before. And you can kind of see last year, like I had this theory that whoever played the Lions early in the season, like the next week they would struggle. And they did. I won like a bunch of games in a row of that theory. Denver's been that way this year. Teams after playing in Denver are 0-5. Teams after playing the Broncos are like, I think 2-8. Because the Broncos,
not only that was a huge game.
It was a huge game. It was extremely physical, and it was at altitude. And now you have the Colts, who have had an extra week to prepare. It's not like the Chiefs have shown us any type of wrinkle or anything that, I didn't really see anything out of them that it's like, oh, the Colts didn't have time to prepare for that. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. It's same old Chiefs as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I trust Steichen and I trust DJ, and I trust them to have a better scheme, to be healthier, to be fresher, and quite frankly, they might just be better. And I'm getting 3.5 points here. I don't see how I can't like the Colts. But yeah, it's the NFL, and a little tongue in cheek, but the NFL doesn't want the Chiefs out of the playoffs. So
a little tongue in cheek,
but if Patrick Mahomes is dancing close to the sidelines, that hand's going to be firmly on the flag. So,
or if he just he arm punts it, that's my new favorite saying. But he arm punted one down there for a pass interference call last week, and I was
really? That's going to happen.
Are we doing this still? Like, come on, guys. Anyway, tilted. Yeah. So Colts, and it's not Danny Dimes anymore, right? It's Indiana Jones. Is that where we're going with?
Yeah.
I like Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. All right.
That's good.
You can be Indiana Jones.
Let's do quickly. Are you smarter than an NFL head coach? Because we do this every week. There's all kinds of stuff to pick from. I know we're running late here, so we'll do a quick one here. Mike McDaniel is the star of this week's one, where they are. I'm sure nobody watched this game, but the Dolphins are tied 13-all with Washington with 1:44 left in the fourth quarter. And Dolphins have the ball at the Washington 1-yard line. Commanders have no timeouts left. 3rd and 1, McDaniel runs a chain up right into the guard's butt. no gain. It's now 4th and 1. And he decides to go for it and run the exact same play. And they get no gain. They turn the ball over, and they end up winning in overtime. I get it.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game.
And you know
honestly.
what? If you went to his post-game press conference, you would have found a whole bunch more drops because it was a bunch of word salad that meant nothing but tilted beyond belief. Dan Campbell kind of did a weird one as well. He gave up a possession. And yeah, I think you touched on it earlier. Nick Sirianni went for it on 4th and 1. They went for the tush push on their own.
That was my head scratcher of the week. It was 3 minutes left in the game, and Detroit had not completed a forward pass in I don't know, an entire 40 minutes of football. I mean, I think Goff was like 2 for 18, his last 18. Like, Detroit was not scoring twice. There's 3 minutes left. They're at their own 30-yard line. You just punt and just, make them drive the ball. Like, they just couldn't complete passes. They couldn't chunk. The only plays that ever worked were the screens to Gibbs. And, I thought that was kind of precarious to give them the ball right there. And Detroit took full advantage of it, and they moved the ball no yards and kicked a field goal. And, they were down 7, and, they were supposed to get the ball back, but, the refs do what the refs do and call some phantom PI, which, I mean, I had the Lions, so like, I don't want to sound like I'm, crying over the call because it cost me the bet. They probably weren't going to score anyway, but I mean, the NFL just has a serious officiating problem. I mean, that was not interference, and it was definitely not worthy of being called on 3rd down to end the game. It's kind of annoying when, we put in 4 hours of our time and everybody puts in millions of dollars, and people go to the games and they pay the naming rights and they buy the commercials and they do all this stuff. And then it just comes down to some guy calling a phantom pass interference call. Like, you're literally looking at the play. When ball carriers are getting tackled by their face mask and they don't call a face mask, and like, if you're not looking at the ball carrier, like, what are you even watching? Like, I don't even understand. Like, I don't understand some of these, but this has been an age-old problem in the NFL, and the game moves fast and they make bad decisions. But I didn't really understand that call on 4th down. The Mike McDaniel one, I mean, this NFL is kind of a little different than we've had with these stupid new kickoff rules. When you make the field goal there, you basically give them the ball back at the 35-yard line. It's so much easier to kick a field goal than if you leave them at the 1. So I think you're essentially like going to overtime, whether you kick the extra point, whether you kick the field goal and give them the ball back at the 30-35, or if you just go for it there, because the chance of them running any type of play where they can get out of their own end to have a chance to score is kind of slim. So I didn't mind that one as much, but I do understand what you're saying. And I know, like, it bothered some people. I know Simmons mentioned it on, Bill Simmons.
I think it's the play call that bothered me more than the actual going for it. Like, you just ran that play and it did nothing. And now you run it again and it does even less.
Yeah.
Like,
understandable.
Anyway. All right, let's move on. Some futures. I had some futures there, stuff. We've talked about it already. You wanted to quickly mention a coach of the year long shot that you had.
Yeah, so I was looking at, I'm always looking for long shots. And again, we're not looking for ones that we think are going to win necessarily. We're looking for ones that are of value. And you have Vrabel and Steichen are the clear favorites for coach of the year. Rightfully so. Both of them brought teams from nothing to something. But then I look a little bit down. I think Vrabel's minus 170 and Steichen's plus 200. So that basically covers the entire market. I look down, and who's the number 1 seed in the AFC?
In the AFC, it is...
Well, I'll tell you. It's the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos.
Who, they just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 9-2. If they finish this season 13-4, 14-3, and they get number 1 seed, they win the division from the Kansas City Chiefs. We don't know if the Patriots are going to hold on and the Colts are going to hold on. I mean, Colts could lose this game. The Patriots, can lose a couple games down the stretch to the Bills and the Ravens. As much as we want to rag on Sean Payton, the national media thinks Sean Payton's a Super Bowl winning coach and one of the greatest coaches of all times. how do you not give it to the number 1 seed Denver Broncos who unseat the Kansas City Chiefs and do it despite having a bad quarterback in Bo Nix, according to the media's eyes? So
19-1?
He's 30-1 on Circa.
Jesus.
So I don't know. I mean, do I think it's going to win? Probably not. But if they roll off another couple wins, I think they have the Redskins next. So now they're 10-2. Maybe Vrabel loses a game. Maybe Steichen loses this week to Andy Reid. And before you know it, he's 6-1. I think 30-1 is a nice value. So yeah, that's something I just kind of wanted to bring out. If you like long shots, I think he's very live.
After week 7, we did our who's going to be in the Super Bowl picks, and you had the Bills and the Rams. What say you now after this many weeks?
Yeah, I'm just going to officially change back to my Super Bowl prediction to start the year. And now that the Ravens are back to 500 and back to being -3 and change to get to the Super Bowl, I'm going to go ahead and put them as my Super Bowl pick in the AFC. And why should I get off the Rams now? On them in the preseason, on them in week 7. I mean, they have the number 1 seed right now. So they're the best looking team right now. I don't really see a reason for me to get off the Rams at this point. So I'm just worried that they peak too early. I mean, I hope that they can stay healthy. They're very fragile. Puka, Devontae, and Stafford, they all have to be upright. If the Eagles lose somebody, I think they just have enough other pieces around them to hide injuries. I'm not sure that the Rams necessarily do. So yeah, I'm just going to go with the Rams Ravens, and that's the one that makes me the most money, and that's the one that I want to happen, and that's the one that I predicted to start the year. So yeah, why not?
I was Chiefs Lions, and I am no longer Chiefs Lions. I am on your Denver Broncos.
Wow.
Versus the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see.
A rematch of the Super Bowl a bunch of years ago. Mark and I might have to watch in different rooms.
That's right. You guys would be at war. We'll do that one more time before the end of the season. But
who's Ross got?
Ross, who you got in the Super Bowl, Roscoe?
The Ravens. I still have the Ravens.
You got Ravens? Okay.
And then I don't know, the Eagles.
All right.
Be a great Super
Ravens
Bowl.
to win.
It would be. Good.
Hurts all right. More.
Thank you so much for you out there listening and watching on YouTube. All our socials, do all the normal things, smash, like whatever the kids say these days. And thanks to you guys for getting together, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.